Ladies and gentlemen, I woke up to such a surprise. I didn't know today was today. But oh my god, we just got gameplay of Borderlands 3, like a ton. Like more than anyone I think was expecting. Oh my god, the weapons, everything looks good. It looks like it has elements of Bulletstorm, which people were speculating about. Holy shit, we got to see a lot of the characters' like abilities, and we just know a lot more about the game now. In the world, oh my god, and you're the Sanctuary. Holy shit, Sanctuary looks like it's more Bioshock than it is space, which I love. That's so cool. The color, the lighting, the characters. The only thing that felt a bit weird is Clappy seemed a bit excessive, but that was the only thing I walked away from the trailer being like, wow, Clappy's the real laying on Claptrap's kind of weird niche comedy. Pretty hard, but ultimately I was kind of fine with it. It grew on you. I have so many words and no words. It's like the most conundrum thing ever. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys have not, I want to make a video going over it. But I honestly feel like that's a bit of an injustice just because it's so goddamn good. Going through the entire thing, watching it, hearing what people say, and the way they interact, and also the new abilities and everything like that. The only thing I walked away from it being a bit like, oh, is we didn't get to see anything of our boy the Beastmaster, which I know a lot of people are excited about, including myself. But yeah. Weirdly enough, the one who is like everyone's least picked, or at least from my understanding, the least invested or wanted character, was the like weirdo Deus Ex aged guy. You know, like the older Deus Ex dude. I didn't hear a lot of people talk about him, but after seeing his skill set, I feel like a lot of people are gonna be like, all right, he's on my list now. Especially with me, I really like pet classes or like drone classes, just because. For me, I like to like make, even though Borderlands is more of like a weird ability, guns or kind of have splash damage kind of game, I still like to really focus on the shooting aspect of it. So for me to just have an action skill where I'm just like, and it's done, good, do whatever you're gonna do, and then I just focus on like shooting is my thing. But yeah, his drone class looked solid. Looked like it was basically Wolf without any Saint, which he also has a shield, which means maybe even a better Saint, or yeah, Saint was the thing that healed you in the pre-sequel. As of the Punch Lady, that's actually, yeah. Now that I think about it, that's probably the one thing that is truly disappointing to me, is that the Punch person, she doesn't have her action skill as a spent action skill. So she has the ability to like grab someone like Lilith, like dominate the battlefield is what they said. But she also has an ability that is a ground pound. Okay. She also has an ability that is a spectral force that just basically is another version of herself that goes out and does damage. But it's unclear to what effect that is. Is it like a drone where like there's just this floating, like, what do you call it, crazy godlike person that's just punching the shit out of people while you're just shooting? Or in the demo, it kind of looked like he just threw this person forward, and anyone forward or in front of him would get eviscerated, like just kind of like a beam attack, basically. But it looks like this person with fists is flying at you, you know. Needless to say, I was utterly disappointed with that's not a melee character, you know? That's everything but a melee character. That's a decoy, basically, a glorified decoy ability. So, I don't know, maybe at the end of one of her skill trees, she has an augment, because that was another thing. An augment, maybe you just power yourself up, and you can just lay into people with your fists, and it's actually viable. Then that'd be great. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of like, that's kind of unfortunate. Because again, I was really hoping that she would be that like Krieg, that yeah, she kind of seems more like a, I don't know. She just seems like a spent character, like a character that activates her action skill, whap, and then that's it. It's not like a rage mode like a Krieg where she just keeps laying into people with her fists. And again, maybe there's an augment down the line that does that, possibly. Who knows? But yeah, I don't know. And again, the only thing that I'm walking away being like, god damn. So I really was hoping that we get some Beastmaster stuff, which there was like a couple scenes in the new flashy trailer. Like the 30-minute flash scene to scene trailer. We've seen a little bit of what the our Beastmaster looks like, which weirdly looks like he's a summon character, like he summons his skag, which I was kind of hoping his skag would be a passive, you know? I don't know. Regardless, ladies and gentlemen, squeaky chair. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Actually, I may just cue this into the video that I'm gonna make of us just gushing about it, because yeah, this is my first, like, I just watched it like a minute ago, and I was like, I gotta talk about it. So we'll probably just transition to me in the future, which honestly will probably still be today. I just need time to cool down, hear, like, go on Twitter, hear what people are saying about it, understand where everyone's at, criticisms about the game, so I can address those and bring those to you guys as well. But again, it also feels like an injustice to do that because the trailer was so great. Like, it's just so much. Like, if you were a fan or you're slightly excited for the game, it's so much of what I think is just awesome and amazing. But then again, I'm a fan, so who knows if it actually is those things. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Well, no, we probably just hard transitioned. Well, still hyped, still unbelievably hyped, and I can't contain it, but I will do my best to do so. We have just got so much gameplay. Jesus H. Christ. I don't even know what to do with it besides just, because I thought we just got the live stream, which already was a lot, like more than I thought they would ever do. But on top of that, they're fully showcasing the game in every other aspect as well. So they gave it to a bunch of streamers, and we already know all of the skill trees for both Phase Lock, Siren, whatever her name is, and the Irish gentleman Deus Ex guy. Yes, crazy. I can't wait. Anyways, out of all the things to cover, again, as of like going through the trailer, I think that it's just something that you should just get some chips, just get some just unhealthy shit, and just have this. We're waiting for 7 years for this game. You should just try to maximize enjoyment and watch it through, because it is just amazing. They're talking you through everything. They're telling you about crazy things like instant loot, and we already knew that, but to see it in practice and to see that it's working and not really any hitch, that's great. Meaning we're going to be able to jump in and have that, but also they're abiding to old fans and the new fans. There's now sliding that looks super seamless, and it seems like they're kind of pulled one of the things from Bulletstorm out of there. There's also a mantle, which the mantle looks a little bit less, smooth. But there's also guns, and the manufacturers of those guns seem to be even more crazy. What do you call it? What's the one gun? Is it Vladolf? No, it's not Vladolf. What is it? Maliwan? No, Maliwan's Elemental. The one that has legs. The guns with legs are not just guns with legs. They're basically all very different, it seems. Like, now that when you throw your gun, it can expel missiles that will heat-seek enemies, which is wild. There's also one that is a bouncy ball that just bounces around the room, hurting anything in its path and ultimately blowing up. There's also one with legs, of course. There's also, they introduce radiation. They introduce environmental effects. Okay, the environment can do things. So you can like shoot a valve off of a tank, and it will spit out oil, and that will change the environment, making you have a potential way to nuke a boss down. I imagine that's going to come into play, which is going to be awesome for speedrunning and things like that. Oh my god. All that is amazing. All that is covered in that quick little snippet. Not quick at all. It's the long video. I'm all over the place. Forgive me. It's just a long video that you guys can absorb all that, and we see a lot of the manufacturers, if not all the manufacturers, except for Torque. We didn't see that much Torque, actually. But anyways, so many things. So the only thing that I could come to the conclusion of that was worthy to be like, let's make a video, because I don't really see too many people doing it and whatnot. And we're gonna take our goddamn time. But of course, that is going over, we're gonna go in tiers. We're gonna do Amara. Also, link to this video that I'm looking at this from. It's Dado, you probably know him, does a lot of Destiny stuff. He was one of the guys that actually went through and all the skill trees. Now, you guys may be like, Grin, why are you making a video looking at words instead of looking at the gameplay? Well, the words can fundamentally make the gameplay amazing, and it's really cool, and that's kind of just me. I really like this part of Borderlands, the building, the character, the skills coming in tangent. So, we'll start from the ground up. Usually there's only one action skill that can get taken in any direction. Now, there's lots. There's 3, and more than just the 3. But basically, each skill tree has an action skill. Now, There is also these things called passives. So you know when you level up the skill tree in Borderlands, you start to unlock the next skill or the next tier of skill if you invested 5 usually. Well, now they unlock passively these passives as you invest skills in it. Now these passives you can equip 2, and I imagine maybe it changes. Maybe for the Deus Ex Irishman, he can actually equip 2 action skills, but he takes away his grenade. But I still think he can. No, I think you can only have 2 passives still. Anyways, regardless, maybe that's the inverse, where someone can have more passives, but only 1 real skill available at once. Anyways, Amara is one of these people who can have passives, but only 1 skill. Now, the reason why I say that there's sometimes more than just 3 skills is because it seems like sometimes the passive can be another skill activation entirely. Like one is where Amara gets fists that just dart across the ground and hit people or phase lock people, which is wicked. Now, the thing that makes this kind of weird is with builds, it seems like you can kind of put together what things are going to look like. Like it basically is like, well, what do you want? What do you want in terms of your action skill? And then you can just go down whatever skill tree offers whatever benefits you want. Do you like melee damage? Cool, do that. Just forget about all the ability focused points and just focus on things like accuracy, which no one cares about, but it'll get you down to the ones that give you damage and things. Anyways, I'm not sure how much I want to go into these. And I kind of regret not doing this sooner because I did read through all of these. But anyways, this is her ground and pound, which you'd think is the melee one, and you'd kind of be right, although it's kind of like a passive. Again, she's not melee. She's close ranged and ability focused, so she's not like a punching character or a melee character really. She does have something that's similar to Zero's Devastate, or Many Must Fall, sorry, and Athena's same thing, whatever it's called, I don't know. But basically, when you look at an enemy, you hit your melee button, you will dash forward and attack them, and if you kill them, you'll get it reset. But she doesn't have too many things that go with melee damage, so I'm not sure if you're going to get that high melee damage that you're going to need, although probably it plays off of guns and weapon mods and attachments, so maybe you'll be able to get it up there. I'm sorry. This is like the brain when you're like, I'm going to try to concoct a build and make it sustainable and good. Anyways, she has some stuff that's, we're not going to go over everything, but she can basically stack things like Rush, and that's kind of what this is about. It's about taking in Rush, or building Rush, sorry, and then expending it. This can give you elemental chance, as well as gun damage, as well as all these things. No, this isn't ground pound. Sorry, this is Amara's. She throws a transparent version of herself forward, and it deals damage, which is kind of cool. Yeah, so I'll just look through these, and I'll mention the ones where I'm like, ooh, that could be something. Yeah, so when she consumes Rash, she can increase her reload speed, stuff like this. This one is interesting, because this kind of makes it the best friend of action skill augments, because it says all action skill augments increase the effect. So if there's soul sap, life steal, you'll get 20% bump to this. So this is going to be one of those skill trees that I think a lot of builders can be like, all right, you got to go down this one, because it kind of is the buddy to every other one. But yes, you get an aura, you get all these crazy things. But then again, some of the end skills are not necessary. They're not like so amazing that you need them, you know? Which is weird. So this one's weird. It says Amara gains improved fire rate and charge time. Is that action skill charge time, or what is that? This one is really cool. I think everyone's gonna probably invest in this. Basically, when you hit someone with your action skill, they take damage from all sources, which is great. Elemental, physical, all those things. After she activates her skill, she gains gun damage, which is lovely. Increases rush stacks efficiency. Jesus Christ, that was hard to say. And then finally, baby, we have one that's something to talk about, which is Remnants. When Amara kills an enemy with a gun or her action skill, she creates a homing projectile that seeks out a new enemy, dealing action skill elemental damage. Now, I just put something together. Interesting. So, remember that action skill elemental damage, because there's actually one skill that, like, if you have action skill elemental damage, it affects your other elemental guns. That was one of the end tier skills for one of these. We'll get into it. But yeah, so I can see how that could kind of come into play with that. But anyways, this is the cooler part. Any overkill damage is added to the projectile damage. So this is insane. So if you have a high sniper rifle and you're built for crit and you shoot someone, their head's gonna pop, a ton of damage, it's gonna overkill them a lot, and then you're gonna just see a meteor just come and smack them in the face, and it's gonna be great. Because if this doesn't have a cooldown, then it's gonna be brutal. But that's just great. It's good for any build, because as long as something's dying, which maybe if you get a melee kill, it doesn't count, I guess. But you're having an action skill that kind of is like a melee kill. Anyways, Aviator. This is the final skill tree in her skill tree, which usually holds a great deal of power, which I don't exactly feel like is true now, but who knows. Amara's action skill can be activated while cooling down, so you basically get 2 action skills, which is actually pretty good considering this one can, apply extra damage to an enemy, as well as just does a lot of elemental stuff. You can activate it twice, but it's going to be on a cooldown for a little bit after you use it. So basically you can spam this twice, even when it's not ready, and you'll be able to activate it again, which is great, just extra damage. But now we're gonna go over the goddamn passives, which you might have been like, okay, kind of okay, but nah. The passives are insane. Again, this is that life steal thing I was talking about, soul sap, which if you get in the center skill, it's gonna massively bump this up, which is cool. Just by investing in a skill tree, you'll see these massive benefits. But this is totally worth it. It says a portion of the damage dealt by Amara's action skill is returned to nearby allies and you as health. And it's 30%, which that will get bumped when you get that center skill to be even more than that, which is crazy. 30% is already pretty goddamn good. Enemies damaged by Amara's skill get phase lock until they are damaged or the duration ends. However, the action skill cooldown is increased. So you basically change this one to be and it's kind of weird because you don't have that much range with this ability. It's kind of like just right in front of you. Unless this changes it to be a giant cone, you're basically just getting a phase lock. And when you damage them, they get put back on the ground. So maybe if you're going to go down the phase lock skill tree, that may come into play with this, but I don't know. That one seems weird to me. And then this one, you'd think by the look of it, it's a melee one, right? Nah. Amara sends forward an astral projection. Sorry, it's really hard for me to say. I'm gonna have a stroke. Of herself. When it hits the target, it explodes, damaging all nearby enemies. Now, yeah, yeah. Kinda seems cool. The explosion seems neat, but I don't know. Again, I was really hoping for this character to be melee focused, and she's not. She's more of like a, I don't know. She reminds me of Zero because she has some very little melee abilities, but she also has decoy and kunai, which are like that's what, if you took Zero minus his melee a lot and just left a little bit, but then bumped things like kunai and all these other things and decoy, then and skill ability kind of stuff, and you'd be golden. Deliverance, which looks rad, right? Amara sends forward astral projections of herself, dealing damage to everything in its path. Now, whenever Amara's astral projection hits something, it releases homing elemental projectiles that trigger her action skill elemental effect on enemies. Okay, all I know is that it's gonna send out a bunch of little balls, which sounds fine. Honestly, coupled with that other thing, that may be great. Yeah, I don't know. That one seems, I don't know. I don't know. What do you want from me? That one seems probably pretty great. Oh yeah, see, this was the one. Amara sends an astral projection of herself forward, dealing damage to everything in its path. Astral projection deals increased damage for every enemy hit. So this is kind of like Boar. For every thing it passes through, it gains a stack of damage, and that's pretty good. Yeah, 50% per hit. But an enemy has to be in a row, and yeah. Now, again, you guys say, like, this is overpowered. You can only hold 2. So you can have your main action skill and 2 other ones. So, I don't know. Oh, wait, no, I see the action. Never mind. Interesting. Also shitty. So you see behind every passive that there is either an arrow or a diamond, and okay, so that's probably how they balance some things. That's more complicated to make a good build. Well, shit. So you can only have so much. Anyways, that's the action skill that seems, well, honestly, like again, it couples well with anything. Also, it's range, because she just throws out a projection of herself forward that just smacks people, which sounds great. All the passive abilities like lifesteal, keep you alive, all those things sound just perfect. Again, it seems like my kind of build because it's a lot of passive stuff. Again, when you kill an enemy, it sends forth a giant ball to kill people, kind of like Krieg, except instead of just being a radius, it's a literal missile following and seeking down a target. This one, however, is ground pound. Yes, she smashes the ground. Now this one is of course the most melee, but not really. Kind of. This one seems kind of neat. Increases her weapon damage based on how close she is, so this makes her very like close combat kind of things, which makes sense. This is her melee-ish skill tree-ish. This is pretty rad, especially if you think about it outside of this, like ground pound, you know? Like if you think about the whole astral projection, because again, it just says, Amara constantly regenerates health. This is awesome. The lower her health, the more she regenerates. Again, rad. But then when she activates her action skill, doesn't have to be ground pound, could be any other one, she starts, that is doubled. That regeneration is doubled, which is amazing. It's also even more amazing when you couple it with other things. Like it doesn't have to be this like hitting the ground thing. This is just great healing overall, which again, all these skill trees, which I've only seen the one, really seems to be a lot less necessary to have a grog nozzle, which again is what I wanted so badly. This is kind of just one that I think everyone's just gonna get because it looks rad. After you're done activating your action skill, you get some damage resistance, but your arms will also hang out with you for 8 seconds, I believe, to give you some more damage resistance, but also making you look badass like Lilith's fire wings or Maya's whatever it is. Increases her health, whatever. This is actually really cool. So this is one of those ones that you gotta think about, but anyways, it's called mindfulness. Whenever you get damaged, you get a stack of mindfulness. Now mindfulness improves shield regeneration delay and movement speed. Now when it says improve, that means lower, right? Lower shield delay? I think so. So that's amazing. So your shield will constantly be just fighting to come back. And if you have the max stacks, then your delay is going to be nothing. You're constantly going to be regenerating, which is good for like Nova shields that aren't like unique in the sense that they always start, you wanted a good delay. There was some Nova shields in Borderlands 2 which you wanted a bigger delay because they kept going. They didn't just pop once, so they popped many times. Anyways, finally, we got one actual melee skill in the entire melee punch slam the ground skill tree. My veins on my neck bursting because I feel it. I feel it. Find the center as a passive ability. It says Amara increases her melee damage. Lovely, just a nice passive. But it also says, additionally, for a few seconds after using her action skill, so it's already a pretty big ask, Amara gains increased melee range, and it says 50% melee range, which is awesome. I think I've seen gameplay of this where she does her like palm smack, and then she has like an arm that reaches a little further and smacks again. But yeah, there's an 8-second duration on this. I don't know. Again, for this being her melee skill tree, it's kind of like, why did it take so long to get this, you know? This is pretty cool too. After you activate your action skill, you gain movement speed, which is always nice, especially if you're trying to get closer to an enemy. More stacking abilities are great, gives her more health regeneration, all those things. Hey, finally, another one. When an enemy damages Amara, she automatically throws an energy orb back at them, dealing elemental effect damage, which is great. I keep seeing that word. I don't know what to scale it off of, but anyways, this skill has a short cooldown, but even still, 8 seconds of cooldown, and you're just whipping more projectiles. Again, this skill tree, coupled with the other skill tree we just went over, to me really seems to be synchronizing well with one another. Again, just being this beacon of arms, just throwing shit at other things, and enemies dying, and there's a ball that comes off that enemy and smacks into another enemy, and when they damage you, you throw a thing back at them, and you got constant health regeneration, so you're able to tank like a madman, and you got like 1 or 2 melee abilities whenever you're feeling like, hey, let's do something other than the thing we're built for, you know? Anyways. But we got one, baby, out of the whole skill. We got one that's actually just melee driven, which is pretty wicked. When Amara deals melee damage to an enemy, she gains increased action skill damage and weapon damage for a few seconds. Never mind, I was the wrong one. There's another one in here somewhere. I promise it exists. That's kind of cool. So melee, again, it's like there's one skill there when you're closer, you deal more damage, so that kind of plays into that, where you're shooting an enemy, palming him, and that increases your action skill, so it kind of feeds into itself. So shoot an enemy, palm, use your action skill, and it'll all come together kind of thing. This is a bit OP. When Amara goes down, she gets right back up with 100% of her health. This has a 60-second cooldown, which means minute and all that. Great. And lastly, many must fall, basically, 2.0. Melee override, finally, again, another one. Press that button to have Amara dash forward, performing a powerful special melee strike, dealing elemental melee damage, again, worth building into whatever that is. If the blitz enemy kills an enemy, it's immediately restored. Otherwise, it's a 10-second cooldown. Kind of cool. Anyways, passive. Let's go over it quick because we're burning time. Amara's action skill does corrosive damage now. Neat. Amara's action skill now creates a Nova. Enemies damaged by Amara's action skill become confused, shooting their allies. Hey, this one doesn't seem that bad, actually. This is an override to her action skill, or skill herself, I believe. But it says, Amara summons a handful of fists that erupt from the ground, dealing damage to enemies in front of her, which I believe, yes, is a full-blown action skill replacement, which is what that hexagon, I think, is. But anyways, we're learning on the fly a little here, I'll be honest. Anyways, leap into the air, you'll fire an elemental beam, and then you'll slam. So, again, passives, they don't really change much. But anyways, the other one, which is basically Maya's skill tree, with, again, strategically placed things there, you know, where it's like, oh, okay, that could be used in the other builds that I'm going for. But I understand why people want to keep playing Maya, because she was great and a lot of her abilities were great. Yeah, so her action skill elemental effect deals further increased damage. So that's what I'm talking about. When I keep seeing, like, when they say, hey, her action skill elemental effect is increased or plays off of this is a skill tree that I think plays with that increasing of the elemental effect skill thing. Accuracy in weapons, who cares? That's kind of cool. Converts a portion of the damage dealt by Amara's weapon into her action skill element. Neat. When you apply an element effect, it can spread to another enemy. Kind of cool. Hey, it's something finally different. Amara gains increased melee damage in the fucking phase lock skill tree. Good. What? And her melee damage is converted to her action skill element. So we seen beforehand there was passive that gave you corrosive. It's also converted that too. So now your melee just on a passive does that. Cool. So if you have a fire passive, it's gonna apply fire when you melee. Neato. Magazine size, yeah, I haven't seen anything that caught my eye yet. Hey, Maya, or Gauge, right? Amara's bullets that damage enemies, this is Maya, have a chance to rocket and deal damage to other nearby enemies. Rocketed chance and damage are increased if the target is currently affected by phase lock or silent the mind, which I believe is another passive that overrides your skill that is basically like phase lock 2.0. Anyways, neat. Catharsis. Whenever Amara triggers an element, the enemy dies and causes an explosion, dealing an attuned element damage along with any other element that is currently affected upon the enemy. Oh, that's kind of cool, actually, now you think about it. So if an enemy is affected with like shock, corrosive, fire all at once and he dies, it's gonna trigger an explosion of all those elements, so like bang, 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 bang. So it's kind of effective to maybe carry a weapon like Maliwan and switch between the two right before he gets killed, so he's both affected by both elements, so that you get both the splash damage, although splash damage is always kind of iffy. When Amara applies an elemental effect to an enemy, she gains a chance to randomly electrocute, burn, or melt the enemy. Okay. I think melt is radiation. This one's not bad. Amara gains lifesteal whenever she deals elemental damage with her weapon. Amara's guns deal bonus elemental damage based on her action skill element. So again, if you have passive corrosive, it's going to do a bonus to corrosive. I feel like this is one of those things that's going to be real powerful, but I don't understand it because it's too much like percentages and like, okay, if I do this much elemental percentage, I do this much. And I'm just like, what? I'm so confused. Anyways, for smarter minds than I can look at this and write me in the comments what it means, why it would be good. Anyways, we're not done. We got a passive. Hey, see, this was one of those perks that I keep saying, like this one. It says we can equip on our element, on our action skill deploy, or even our melee hit, which is somewhere around here. When we activate our melee, it will apply our elemental effect, which is now electricity. Actually, yeah, you guys can see it right here. Electricity. Or we can make fire if we want to get that a passive. So that's kind of neat. Fire is locked in this skill tree, I guess. Amara's action still creates a singularity that pulls in enemies. Amara summons a giant fist that bursts from the ground and lock the target enemy in place for a few seconds. So you know how we had the other one where we just send a bunch of fists that deal damage forward? This one is the same thing, except instead of a fist, it's a hand that grabs people. Enemies near grasped targets are linked and deal increased damage to targets shared between all other links. Okay, so there was a grasp, I think, ability that I didn't mention because I thought it was trash, but in conjunction with this, maybe pretty good. Well, shit. But that's cool. Shared damage kind of reminds me of Destiny's Night Shot round or whatever, bow that locks people in place. Oh yes, Amara summons a giant fist that bursts from the ground, locking enemies targets in place for a few seconds. Whichever the grasped enemy is killed, it will so basically this will just ping off. So you know how Maya's had her phase lock, it could only lock one for a long time. This will give you the ability for it to lock many, which is cool, just to ping off of people, but it's at a max 3. No wait, not just 3. Bonus target up to 4. Why does it say 3 then? Can you invest in these skills? I don't know. Maybe it's when we get that other skill that empowers this one. I don't know. I don't know. And the last, again, some kind of melee one. Not really though. Amara summons a giant fist, bursts from the ground, locks an enemy in place. After grasping the target, large fists appear, constantly smashing the area, dealing damage to nearby enemies. Yeah, this skill tree honestly does not speak to me, besides like the couple melee skills that are at the top, you know? Like increases your melee damage and gives you a fire melee ability. That's kind of okay, but that's like the first 2 skills, so it's kind of cool that they put that up there if you want to get a kind of benefit from them. Jesus. As the passives, not quite my speed, you know. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is Amara. Again, the first 2 skill trees that we covered. I honestly think I'm probably gonna go down the you just send like an astral projection of yourself forward that deals damage, kind of like just a beam attack. It kind of like whenever I've seen gameplay, it looks like that. But also just the passive bonuses of that skill tree, where it's like you send, it seems like a Krieg almost build, because Krieg had Blood Explosion, which is also what that skill tree has, like a bleed off damage is applied to another enemy, so you're all about like weakening an enemy and then hitting them hard. And then you also have other abilities where, like, when you get damage, you just throw a ball of damage at someone, which is also a Krieg ability. When he had when you take damage, he had a chance of sending a fireball at you if he was on fire, which is exactly like what she has. So yeah, and also I like the melee ability. So I really want like I don't want the ground slam, because that just doesn't seem my speed, but I do want the like astral projection with all like the melee, get in your face, smack a person, palm smack them kind of shit. Seems right up my alley. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, there's gonna be another video at some point where we cover the guy, the man, the myth, the legend. I don't know his name because names are hard for me, but anyways, he's the Irish Deus Ex old man, which I can't wait to actually play. He actually seems very cool. I think I'll play her first though. No, we're playing Beastmaster first, but then following up her, and then actually, who knows? Maybe that gunner lady is pretty rad. I seen her, like, she seems weirdly melee with her action skill. Like, she can get melee. It's weird. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. Subscribe button above me, 2 videos to the right. Let me know what you think about the skills. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I wasn't seeing how something could play into another thing. Probably. Thank you so much for your time, and goodbye.